Hi folks, welcome to Lecture 2. We're going to go over the specifics of all of the assignments in Applied Linguistics here. Feel free to reference this if you have any questions as you get closer to the due dates for these assignments. I think it is important to kind of know where you're heading so that you have an idea of what amount of time these projects would take you as you get closer to the due dates. Okay, let's start with the immersion assignment. There are two parts to this assignment, each worth 25 points. The very first portion of this, which is due fairly quickly, your immersion assignment part 1 is worth 25 points. What you'll do is you'll observe the ways in which adolescents use language. Adolescents, different people have different definitions of what an adolescent is. For this particular assignment, we're talking about kids 6th through 12th grade. So about 11 years old to 18 years old. Some people feel like adolescence moves into young adults up to 20 years old. Some people say it starts in teenage years. For this purpose, we are going to be looking at language that 6th through 12th graders use. You don't have to use all of those grade levels. The way that you can do this, you can go to the mall and observe what kind of language students use. You can sit in on a course if you are able to. Remember that this requires you to have permission. You can observe siblings discuss, have discussions with each other, but the most important thing is that you're talking to an adolescent who's talking to another adolescent, not a child who is talking to an adult, not a child talking to an authoritative figure. What you want to look at here is how kids talk to each other, what kind of language they use, what kind of diction they use, what kind of terms they use. That's what you're going to try and observe. You can do this electronically too. You can observe students on Twitter. The only thing is that it will be hard to know if they're young or not. If they're siblings of friends, for example, then you'll be able to let us know or let me know how old they are. So after you observe that, you are going to discuss how the students use language, and you're going to submit a brief one-page summary of the findings. Do include the age level of the two students and talk about how you're going to be talking about this. Keep in mind that this highlighted portion is that part 1, so you don't have to worry about this portion yet. For part 1, you will submit on time a one-page summary. It can be double-spaced, so it's not too much work, of how adolescents use language, identifying the ways in which adolescents use language, slang, what makes adolescent language different from adult language, and why this matters for you as a future teacher. You also want to make sure that what you're submitting to me for these are grammatically correct, using correct tenses of verbs, using correct homonyms and homophones. I think that's very important for an applied linguistics course. Like I said, that you can go and look at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. As long as it's adolescents in the wild, so to speak, it's fine. 11 years old to 18 years old in age. In the summary, like I said, you'll include how adolescents use the language, how the slang is used, what makes adolescent language different from adult language, why this matters for a future teacher. You won't be penalized for going over a page, but it has to be a minimum of a page. Okay, the second portion of the immersion assignment is part 2, which is again worth 25 points. This is the second part, this highlighted portion. What you're going to do is you're going to find 3 lesson plans, either online or through other means. You can ask a friend who is a teacher, you can ask a cooperating teacher you've worked with before. That exemplifies 3 different ways in which to engage students in language and grammar inquiry, discussion, or practice without using a worksheet. This is a lot harder than it seems. A lot of grammar instruction goes hand in hand with worksheet work. So you want to utilize something that is without a worksheet. You can try and find these on sites like Read, Write, Think. However you find them, they all do need to be different ways, even if you're finding it on the same site. Each lesson should incorporate a different instructional approach. So if you chose one that utilized the Socratic circle, you can't have the same kind of lesson that uses the Socratic circle. You'll submit on a Word document with 3 citations for the lesson plans with an annotation containing information about the lesson itself and why it was selected. So essentially, it's an annotated bibliography. Okay, you're going to use this one with APA citations. You're going to learn how to correctly cite with APA and MLA in this course. MLA is important because since you're going to be a future English teacher, you're going to teach your students how to cite MLA. Because we are a social science here in English Ed, we do need to cite with APA, so you kind of need to know how to do both. What you're going to do is you're going to submit a Word document with the 3 correct APA citations in the correct format, in the same font, in the same font style, with the same font size. Essentially, it can't be sloppy. You want to send in a professional annotated bibliography. What it will do is it'll send me to that citation, okay, and then you'll list what it is, essentially summarizing what the lesson is. Each reference has a short 1-paragraph annotation summarizing the information and why it was selected. It cannot be copied and pasted. A lot of these sites have summaries of the lessons. You cannot copy and paste because that's plagiarism. So make sure that you're synthesizing what you found and talking about it. So if you are going to use a friend who is a teacher who has a great strategy, please write interview with X and specify the relationship and what grade level that teacher teaches. Okay, and I've given you an example here that you can utilize. This can be peer-reviewed work. You can look at Read, Write, Think, which is a good starting place, but you do need to submit 3 citations with your immersion assignment, which is worth 25 points. For your grammar book evaluation, you are going to have an excerpt out of a grammar book used in public schools and will write a 2 to 3 page rationale evaluating the effectiveness of that grammar book using at least 2 peer-reviewed journal articles as sources. We're going to cover how to find these as you get closer to the grammar book evaluation, but the good starting spots are lib.fsu.edu, spelled out. And what you'll want to do is, if you're not on campus, you'll go to off-campus access and log in with your username and password for FSU, and you'll be able to find peer-reviewed journal articles that way for this assignment. The way that I've done it is there are several grammar book excerpts. Some are for high school, some are for middle school. The way that it's going to be allocated is by your first letter of your last name. So if, for example, if Rybakova went in, I would be looking at grammar book 3. Okay, for grammar book 1, it's an excerpt of 1 page, and you'll be looking at number 51 specifically because it's a grammar prompt. What you're going to do, and keep in mind that even though it's an evaluation, which kind of seems like it means it would be negative, don't be afraid to highlight the positives of what you find in these grammar books. Talk about what it is that would make this effective, and perhaps if you feel like it wouldn't be effective, why it wouldn't be effective. Try to find the positives and negatives. So you may use peer-reviewed journals from the class if you wish. Again, you'll write a 2 to 3 page double-spaced rationale evaluating the effectiveness and efficiency. So essentially, you're looking at this and saying, well, I use this in the classroom. Why or why not? Is this effective? Okay, the reference page that you're going to include is going to be in APA formatting. You are going to correctly cite this reference page, again, with correct grammar. You're going to use the hanging indent correctly. If you don't know how to do that, let me know. I will show you. Okay, and the reference page does not count for the 2 to 3 page minimum. The evaluation is grammatically correct and well written and shows that you've put in the effort that you need to put in to evaluate this grammar book effectively. Okay, let's talk about the History of English Language project. This is your one and only group project. You will be formed into small groups of 3 to 4 people and will work on a Google Doc to complete this assignment. You'll be tasked to create a timeline with a summary of the English language, okay, and you'll have one of 4 time periods, and this will be selected for you. Your groups will be selected for you as well. You'll need to create 16 different summarizations and or facts on your timeline and add a list of references at the end of your project. What you'll do once you get your assigned group is you're going to have one director of the group, similar to kind of like a literature circle. And what you're going to do is you're going to create one Google Doc. That director is going to create one Google Doc. They're going to invite all of the other students in there, and then you're going to talk about within your group how you'd like to format it. It can be a PowerPoint, it can be a Prezi, it can be a Glogster, however you want to do it. It can be a wiki. That's up to you, but what you need to include is 16 different timestamps depicting facts based on dates. So it does need to be specific in terms of how it impacted the English language development. Okay. If you're uploading a Prezi or Glogster, a URL link would suffice once you upload it to Blackboard. Now for this one, what I want you to do is practice MLA formatting. See the OWL at Purdue as to how you do that. Remember that the final project needs to be grammatically correct and visually attractive, meaning, first of all, that it has at least 4 images, but also that the font is all consistent throughout, that it's all very clear and well written. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to have a lot of information, but rather it should be informative and concise. You are also going to submit an evaluation and self-reflection for your group. You're going to copy and paste this into a new Word document, fill it out, and submit it to Blackboard to me. If 2 or more of your peers rank you below a 7, you'll earn 75% of the total grade earned. If 2 or more peers rank you below 5, you'll earn 50% of the total grade earned. That means if your group earned 100, you will earn 50%. I think this is only fair and really the only way to make sure that everyone is contributing in an online environment. If you've taken a class with me before, you'll know that I am a stickler in terms of the formatting of your lessons that you submit. That being said, you will be submitting 4 lesson plans total, one of which is a grammar and popular culture mini lesson. Remember, a mini lesson is for a 15-minute time slot out of a 50-minute period, typically at the beginning of the period. The student, which is you'll create a 15-minute lesson plan using the FSU English Ed lesson plan template found on Blackboard, focusing on the using popular culture to disseminate grammar instruction to adolescent students. The grade level is up to you, and the way that you use popular culture is up to you, but you do need to incorporate popular cultures in some fashion to teach students grammar. Can you do this through a lecture? Sure. Can you even do this as a flipped classroom? Perfectly okay with me. You can also, if you'd like to, you can do this as some form of activity. That's completely up to you. The one thing that I do want you to stay away from is having students fill out worksheets. You don't want to do that. That's not the most effective way of teaching grammar. So I've given you a couple of options using memes to investigate grammar and syntax. You can steal that if you want to. The one thing that I do want to see is formal assessment. I want to see how you formally assess, in addition to informally assess, grammar knowledge. That means that the students should be turning something into you, or at the very least, required participation is a must. You'll see that the way that this is graded is a little bit different from previous lesson plans that I've graded with you all. Okay, you'll see that essentially you'll have the same components, but the point allocation is a little bit different. You will have a little bit different of a demographic this semester, and you'll see that once I cover the linguistic lesson series. That's the next thing I'll cover. Like I said, formal assessment must be included. That means that a rubric must be included. A rubric is essentially in this format. So you do need to incorporate a formal assessment in addition to an informal assessment. Remember that an informal assessment is not graded, but rather what you as the teacher observe and what you're looking for the students to understand. Clearly, you can write something like looking for understanding of grammatical content through the discussion about this popular culture, whatever it is that you're using. Okay, the accommodations, you'll see that in a little bit. Okay, and I also will take off points for APA and grammar if you do not cite them correctly. For example, if you don't use a citation for a particular lesson plan that you've rewritten, that will come off of those points. I do want these to be semi-original, meaning if you do choose to use a lesson that you've taken offline, that it does have to be reworked or redrafted in your own unique way. The Linguistics lesson series is a series of 3 lessons that you'll submit for your final. The demographics that are listed here you will use for your grammar and popular culture lesson plan as well. You have a class of 19 students. 5 are on reduced lunch, which means they come from low SES families. You have 2 ELL students, both of who have been in the country for several years and have had intensive ELL instruction in elementary school. That means that they have conversational English and are doing all right with what you've got in your grade level, but keep in mind that they are coming from families where English is not their first language. Particularly for grammar, this is important. For your IEPs, M denotes male and F denotes female. Okay, Herbert, you have names this time. Herbert has ADHD. Peyton has a speech impairment. Laya has mild dyslexia. And Oliver has mild autism. So a few of these are new. Please do go and research what accommodations you typically can make for students with these impairments. For the linguistics lesson series, what you're going to do is you're going to create a series of scaffolded lessons, so they do have to be together. There are a set of lessons that you do, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for example, that is focused on using research-proven practices involving grammar practice in conjunction with writing instructions. So you need to have some form of writing in this lesson. Can it be creative writing? Sure. Can it be narrative writing? Absolutely. What I suggest you do is choose some form of writing that you do not have a lot of experience planning for, so that you can have a little bit of experience while you're doing this lesson to do so. If you're not sure how to teach expository writing, write a lesson series on expository writing. If you're not sure how to use persuasive writing, do it on persuasive writing or narrative writing. Creative writing, I will let you know that the one thing that I will be looking for if you choose to do creative writing is a research that backs up your use of creative writing in the classroom, because the Florida standards and Common Core standards don't include creative writing in their standards list. So you do need to explain why it is that you're using something that isn't a standard. Okay, so you'll see that you have requirements here per lesson plan. It's the exact same thing as what you've got in the grammar lesson, but you do not have to have formal assessment in each lesson. Okay, the one thing that I don't want to see, that's the part of the 100 points that you'll get allocated, is no worksheets, no independent worksheets, and that all 3 lessons are neatly scaffolded together. What that means is that you're not jumping from one writing prompt to another. You're not doing 3 different things. You're building off of the same writing tasks, or you're building off of the same writing genre at least, to create a cohesive mini lesson series. I wouldn't call 3 lessons a unit, but lesson series. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I do grade lesson plans very much based on the detail and effort you put into them. I read the rationale as if I am a parent or administrator, so you need to convince me of the academic merit of your lesson. It shouldn't be whether or not students are interested in it, but rather why it is that you're doing what you're doing. And why should I, as an administrator or a parent, believe that what you're doing is academically sound and helpful educationally for the child. Now, as for the rest of the lesson, I read it as if I'm your sub. So a lot of my feedback will be in question format, asking, are they getting into groups of 3? Are they getting into groups of 4? You have an odd amount of students in your class. What do I do for that? You really want to make sure everything is super detailed, step by step. I promise this will help in the future. And ultimately, I want to be able to answer yes to the question, will I be able to envision and ultimately do what it is that you're envisioning for this lecture series, for this lesson plan series. This is your final, but feel free to start working on this now. Do know that the summer goes by pretty fast, so you do want to start getting ready, at least in terms of ideas for this. If you are an undergraduate student, this is the time where you can click out of this video. You have successfully completed lecture 2. If you are a graduate student, specifically Taylor and Daniel, you will continue on with me for just a little bit longer. And we'll discuss a couple of things that you'll do in addition to the requirements of the Applied Linguistics course for the undergrads. Again, if you are an undergraduate student, you are not doing these assignments. If you are the graduate students, Taylor and Daniel, you will be doing these 2. Notice that this is the LAE 5336 syllabus, and I have it pulled up. You are going to cover, you're going to go by the same schedule. So lecture 1 does apply to you. The one thing that I wanted to point out are the 2 things that you're going to do. So you're going to take a lead role in a couple of these weeks. Okay, so you're going to create a 3 to 5 minute TED Talk based on a topic of your choice within the parameters of the course. I will ask you to send me your ideas pretty early on as part of your annotated bibliography. And you do want to engage the students in something that's interesting and visually engaging, but also incorporates an explanation of a concept as well as why it matters. You don't want to do anything too general, something a little bit more specific, but the format and topic is up to you. My suggestion is always trying out screencasting if you would like to, but any kind of video format is perfectly fine. This will count as 100 points towards your total points and should be research driven. You will mention this research throughout, but you don't necessarily have to make it a literature review type of TED Talk where you say this person said this and this person said this. Make it interesting, make it engaging, but do use research to back what you're saying. The annotated bibliography that you'll submit as part of this, which will be due a little earlier on, you'll submit an annotated bibliography in APA style, not MLA style, with 10 to 15 sources. And after each source, a brief annotation regarding the article content. The way that you choose this source is up to you, okay? The way that you submit this is up to you, but do make sure that it's all consistent with the formatting, it's grammatically correct, you're using the hanging indent correctly. If you need help with that, please feel free to ask me. Okay, but otherwise, you are going to include that annotated bibliography, and as part of that annotated bibliography, kind of give me an idea of what you're thinking for the general TED Talk. I'm going to scoot down to the course tables, and I'm going to show you when these are due. The annotated bibliography for the TED Talk is due May 30th at 9 a.m. Okay, and that will be due directly to me. And then you'll see that, Taylor, your TED Talk is going to be June 6th through the 10th. That's going to be your week. What you're going to do is you're going to submit your TED Talk video to me the week prior on May 30th. Oh, sorry, not May 30th, on June 3rd. Okay, so your turnover is going to be a little bit quicker than Daniel's. And you're going to submit that video to me. And you're also going to submit a question that you would like to ask the students as part of that video. So you'll want to submit your video to me around June 3rd, just to kind of, so that I can upload it and everything's ready to go. But you're going to have it, your question will be live June 6th through the 10th. Daniel, yours is going to be June 20th through the 24th. And you're going to submit your video June 17th to me. So that I can review it. And again, same thing as Taylor. You're going to submit a question that you would like to ask that's based off of your own TED Talk, and that sparks conversations that I will submit as part of week 7's requirements. So if you have any questions about this, I'm going to kind of review that. So on May 30th, both of you will submit an annotated bibliography. Taylor, on June 3rd, you're going to submit a question and a video, and the video to me, it can be in draft form. That's perfectly okay. And then it will go live June 6th. So I need to have the final by then. Okay. And then Daniel, same thing goes for you. You're going to submit your question and draft June 17th, and then it will go live on June 20th. So the final needs to be sent in to me then. If you have any questions about the course or additions, I am going to have a few questions throughout the course that are a little bit more research driven for you guys, but I won't bog you down with too much extra work. So I'm looking forward to seeing those videos. Great job.